So you can do some of the grain fill stuff, minus the hole in the middle. So that's all done with the airbrush. That's blackened with the airbrush, grain filled, lac or shellac over top of that, over top of the grain filler, and then like 3 or 4 coats of water-based lacquer,
That's the prettiest tunnel I've ever seen.
and then
Do
blue
you have an
and blue.
iridescent paint on that, or I
This
see
is the
shimmering?
Yeah, exactly. This is disappointing, really. Um, this I'm glad you see it actually shows more shimmering in the camera, I think, than what it does in real life.
Yeah, it looks great in the camera.
Chroma Guild makes some that are the
Okay,
chameleon.
yeah, the chameleon paint. Okay, okay.
And I think this thing has all 3 colors on it.
Yeah, I can see the blue and the purple for sure, and maybe the green and some of the lighter areas.
But the green and the gold one is the one I was just maybe this only has one on it. I did a couple of these with a couple of different colors just to see whether it
Wow.
jumped out at me.
You should look at this in the camera because it looks great on screen.
Yeah, it sure does.
I mean, it has some I don't know, it has some shifting to it, but not quite what I thought it was going to have. Put it that way. I did it
It
on a
looks good
bigger
on camera.
I did it on a bigger bowl, and it actually looked a little bit better on a bigger surface. But
So at what how what stage are you putting the chameleon paint on there? Do you do the black and then the grain fill and then the chameleon paint, or are
no,
you
no,
doing a
no.
finishing? Okay.
This would be turned, sanded, um, black shellac, airbrush, a nice even black layer of shellac, not too thick because I don't want to fill up the pores. It's kind of a little bit of a gray area. Um, let it dry. This is where you get into too much time in these because your shellac for me takes half an hour, 45 minutes to dry. It's better off I do a couple of them and leave it dry overnight even. Then come back and put the grain filler in. I usually let that stuff dry for probably like an hour or something like that. And then I can go right back over top of that with the seal coat of shellac, Zinsser seal coat. It's de-waxed.
Okay.
And it's very thin. So now I can come back with my water-based lacquer and never have an issue of will it adhere because this grain filler stuff is all oil-based. From what I can read on their description, it's an oil-based. So for me, I need a barrier between the oil-based and my water-based.
Okay. So you're putting in the seal coat shellac on, and then you're putting on the chameleon paints.
Yeah, it's a guild
Is
cream. It's not a paint. There is chameleon paints out there too. There's also chameleon flakes.
Two different things.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. The craft stuff, the chameleon stuff, is a you're applying it with your fingers or whatever. Could you explain that
Yeah,
a little bit more?
it's a cream.
Okay.
Uh, it uh, I won't do it with the chameleon ones. Let me get my glove back. I can put it on a little piece of raw wood, but if it's not black, they really won't show up very well. It's this is their they call it amethyst. I call it purple. It's a really vibrant purple. I like this one too.
Okay,
But
but
if
you're
we
doing it after you've put the seal, you sealed it on first, right?
correct,
Okay. That was my
it's
question. Okay.
it's actually going to show up in the grain on this one, but it's also going to color the wood as well. See, it goes right into the grain. But yeah, this would need those colors right there. And I'm pretty sure the chameleon, I could try a different background color, but I would think black would be the best one for it. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I think
yeah,
so too. Okay.
the surface that you don't want to fill needs to be sealed, or it does just what it did here. If you were just to try to dye that black and go over top of it, it'll turn the black a different color. Because there's places on here where I evidently didn't get it sealed quite well enough, and it sticks to the black. And there's no grain that
Interesting.
should have been filled.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
It's kind of fun stuff to play with. It's not cheap, but it goes a long ways. And
Thank you.
there's tons of different ones of them too. There's some that's the waxes. Hemp Hampshire Sheen has some waxes. They have quite a few different ones. There's actually some you can get at the craft store too. There's a white, and it's really white. This stuff was very hard to work with. I don't know if I think it said it was I think the original packaging said it was a water-based. It says it's waxed. One of them dried almost instantly. It was very difficult to work with. The waxes are easy to work with. These Hampshire Sheen products, and they're pretty easy to work with. He doesn't have a ton of colors. Got educated down in at the symposium because they have a pink. And I've woke up, my wife's like, "You bought a pink one," and it is pink. I mean, that puppy is bright ass pink. I can't get it to stay pink. And I talked to a guy down at that symposium that had it. I'm like, "I don't like the pink." Why not? He pulled out his phone and showed me pictures. I said, "Well, it's over white." He said, "Well, it's got to be." I said, "What color are you putting it over?" I said, "Black." He said, "Well, it's going to turn purple." I'm like, okay. And the blue's the same way in theirs. He said that has to go over white. Most everything else is over black or dark color. It doesn't have to be black. Like that purple, you could do a purple dye and then a purple grain filler over top of it because the grain filler is a different color purple and it'll still stand out. As
Okay,
long as
cool.
open grain wood, it has to be. That's the only difference. It's got to be I have a bunch of ash. There's plenty of other stuff out there that'll work. It will not work on a closed grain wood.
Gotta
That's
have
it.
something to grab a hold of, right?
Well, it's got to have a place to go.
Yeah. Embed
I
itself.
mean, yeah, I mean,
So oak, ash, or hickory, or something like that that has open grain, pores for
anything
the
with
stuff to settle into. Yeah.
the big open grain, um,
Mahogany.
mahogany probably wouldn't work.
No?
I wouldn't. It might. I mean, I've done some pieces that I think I've done some pieces in oak, and it was more of a white oak, and it's just not. It's really when it comes right down to it, I'd like to have all that kind of big wide rings in the open grain. I just think it looks better. It's more eye catching, put it that way. But there are a fair amount of work. Or I really shouldn't say that. Um, like in my case here, I would do the back, sanded, finished, because you can see, maybe, you can see right here is black. That's over top of the Parfix 3408. Guess what happens when the Vonex hits that? It goes rip, gone,
Yeah, right up.
because it
Gone.
can't stick to it. So I was able to spray the whole rim and really don't worry about that. Uh, but yes, that was sanded, finished on the back before I ever flip it around. And then just do the rim a little wider than what you think you want, sand it and do all that stuff to it, and then hollow the center out. And then you have you know, have a place to put over top of your bottle or something or other. I don't know.
So you
You
did
can turn a
the funnel on
pedestal for that,
you did
Kirk.
the funnel on purpose.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I do not. I have a hatred for this right here, a recess. And that's why I hate. First off, the only thing I do a recess on would be a platter, just so they don't have just being lazy, so they don't have to go back after it. Because 9 times out of 10, if you see somebody did this, it's usually because there's a recess in there and you forget about the recess. And, I went across the bottom. Actually, I think I did this on a live stream yet at that. And I'm like, oh shit. And maybe I didn't. I'm like, I heard it change tune right in about here. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, well, this is going to be gone. So I pulled it off and I held it up to the light and it went straight through. But so now it's designer firewood.
There you
And
go.
it's too daggone small because you could do the last thing that Richard Raffin did, those guys did on their 4-ways thing is take and make a bowl and cut it in half. And I'm like, well, I got that down there, but my God, if I cut it back to there ain't nothing left. So